morning and welcome to Wholesome Roots. Today I want to talk to you about winter laying. Are your chickens not laying for the winter? Have they stopped producing eggs on you? Are you upset about that? Are you just going with the flow? Or are you trying to change their natural routine? That is the question. Is do you feel like you should take steps to force the chickens to lay eggs through the winter? Now, there are pros and cons to all different approaches to livestock management, and that includes chickens. No one way is the right way, and no way is the wrong way. As long as your animals are being cared for and given food and water and fresh air, then you're doing a great job. But today, I want to talk about what we do for winter laying and for eggs for the winter, and what our methods and thoughts and feelings are. So today, I'm going to tell you 5 reasons why we don't force our chickens to lay eggs through the winter. So as most of you know, we take a lot of extra steps to spoil our chickens. And that's one of the reasons why we don't force them to lay eggs all winter long. We want them to survive on a more natural schedule that their bodies are requesting. When your body requests you to rest, there's a reason for that. Your body needs that rest. There is a lot of energy that's put into egg production, and rest is essential for a long-term egg production. So there are different methods that people use to attempt to keep their eggs in production all winter. The 2 main ones that people use are supplemental lights, which means they add an hour or 2 or sometimes even more daylight, simulated daylight to the chicken schedule. Chickens naturally stop laying eggs when the daylight decreases. Their laying pattern is dependent on daylight. So you're gonna get less eggs when there's less light, like in the winter. So putting a light on chickens is not a mean thing to do by any means. But what it's gonna do is gonna stimulate them to continue to lay eggs when their body is really needing the rest. And that's okay if that's what you choose to do. I'm not judging anybody. I am just here to talk about what we do and why we do it. So, we don't use supplemental lighting. For one, it's not the most natural method of chicken keeping. But for 2, it would kind of be a pain in the butt to get lighting out here in a pasture. We keep our chickens in separate tractors so that they're easier to move. We also keep them in separate tractors for breeding purposes. We have different breeds together with certain roosters, so that when we hatch, we know what we're getting, whether it's a dark brown egg or a light blue egg or a olive egg that we're attempting to get, we can create that by keeping them in different breeding statuses. So it would be really hard to put a light on each one of these. That would be crazy. It'd probably be expensive too, because it would cost money to keep the electricity going out here. And there are some serious safety dangers involved with lighting in a chicken coop. Chickens are curious creatures, and they naturally will peck at electrical cords to see what it is. So that is a risk I'm not willing to take with my animals on my homestead. Another reason why we don't force our chickens to lay through the winter is we don't need to. We don't have to do anything unnatural with our chickens, and we can still end up with eggs through the winter. So how do we do that? How do we keep eggs in the winter? Now, don't get me wrong, we have way less eggs in the winter, way less. But what we do in order to keep some eggs through the winter is kind of similar to what we do with the goats, with different breeding times so that we have milk through the winter. Well, we have different aged chickens. So every homestead or farm that relies on chicken eggs as one of their main staple foods has to do something that actually naturally makes it so that you have eggs in the winter, and that is to continue to add to your flock. Every year we add to our flock. So what happens is that first year chicken, the pullet, is normally, depending on when they hatched out, going to continue producing eggs through the winter, more so than your 2-year-old or your 3-year-old chickens. And the reason for this is they don't go into a molt usually that first year. Depending on when the temperature changes and what their age is at that time, they will likely not go through a molt, which means they won't stop laying, and so they will continue through to the spring when the nice weather comes back. So another thing a lot of people do to make their chickens produce through the winter is they provide artificial supplements. Now, I know some of these are all natural artificial supplements, but most of them have ingredients on the list that I can't pronounce, and we try to feed a very natural diet. So one of the things that we do with our chickens is we try to feed them as close to a natural based diet as possible. That's why we have chicken tractors that we can move for fresh herbs and grasses in the pasture that they can eat every time we move them. And we also supplement that with non-GMO layer pellets that are full of good ingredients. We don't want to put bad ingredients in our chickens because we don't want bad ingredients in our eggs. So for us, it makes more sense to not supplement with artificial supplements to make them lay more eggs. Now, that's different than providing them with extra protein. I do that. I do a lot of extra protein in the winter because most of the chickens have just finished a molt and they're trying to regrow their feathers. So we do provide a lot of extra protein in the form of other foods that we supplement them with. Sometimes we even give them chicken eggs. Scramble up some eggs and give it to them for the extra protein. It really helps them. But we're doing that so that they'll have better nutrition and regrow their feathers easier, not so that they'll lay eggs, although it does sometimes help that. Another big reason why we don't force the chickens to lay eggs through the winter is because it's not really good for their long-term health. So what that means is a chicken's body is designed to lay so many eggs. When that number of eggs has been reached, they're not gonna lay anymore. So their bodies have given up on laying because their bodies can't handle it anymore. Just like when other animals stop reproducing. It's the natural order of things. So our chickens are going to lay for us for probably 3 or 4 years. A lot of poultry farmers that force their chickens to lay through the winter only get 2 years out of them of good egg production. And that is because you've shortened their life. Now, not everybody retires their chickens after they stop laying. Not everybody processes them. So if you're gonna continue keeping chickens that don't lay eggs for years and years and years, then by all means, supplement in the winter with light or artificial supplements if you choose to. If having eggs through the winter at a higher volume is more important to you, by all means do that. But for us, we like to cull after they stop laying a lot. We are doing this from more of a business perspective, not as a cuddly pet thing. So we do cuddle our chickens when they're little, and they're handled a lot during that time of their life. But once they come out to the chicken tractors, we don't really get a chance to hug on them as much as we would like to, because we do like cuddling chickens. But they do really well with this routine. It works very well for us, and it works very, very good for them. They have a longer life of production, and so they actually get a longer stay on our farm because of the lack of supplementing in the winter. And to me, that's more humane. So I feel like it's the better choice for us. So whether you choose to supplement with lights or artificial supplements, that's your choice. If you like to have all those extra eggs in the winter, I understand. And I'm not judging you at all. I just wanted to explain why we do it the way that we do it. And just give some people another perspective. Maybe it's something that you haven't thought about. Maybe it's something that you never even considered as an option. But if you keep getting new chickens every year, then it doesn't become as big of an issue in the winter, because you will always have some eggs still coming in to the kitchen. So thank you for listening, and I hope that this provided some insight for some of you into our way of doing things, and maybe it matches what your feelings might be. I was just talking to my friend Trisha over at Willow Creek Homestead, and she suggested, when I mentioned what I was filming, that this should be a collaboration, and I think that's a great idea. So for those of you that would like to participate, let's do it. I would like to challenge you guys to also participate in this as an open collaboration. I would like to know your reasons why you do force your chickens to lay in the winter, or your reasons why you don't. So let us know. Make a video, tag us, let us know about it. We'll put it in a playlist, and we'll all get to watch each other's videos. I think it'll be fun. Thank you for watching. You know the drill. We'll see you next time on Wholesome Roots.